What's going on, YouTube? Ferocity here. Hope you guys are doing well. As you know, the XDefiant beta is over. We didn't get the extension to play it over the weekend, unfortunately, but I can understand that developers need to sleep, and I understand that they need to process all the information they gathered over the 3-day open session. And honestly, I hope they implement a lot of changes, and I hope it gave them some valuable feedback because I do want this game to succeed. I know that for some people, they feel that this game's just kind of a Call of Duty clone and isn't anything special, but for others like myself, I want to believe that this game is going to achieve some pretty high heights, and I'm excited for what it can become. Now, that's not to say that this game doesn't have issues and it doesn't have problems and it needs to fix some things. I'm not saying that at all, because I played XDefiant for 3 days. I could identify a lot of the problems that I had with the game, but overall, the game felt very familiar. It was really nice to play something that was reminiscent of what Call of Duty used to be, and also have its own take and flair as well. One of the arguments that I just won't support or won't believe that this game feels and plays sort of like Fortnite. It's something that I've seen within my comment section, and it's been also echoed on Reddit and Twitter, and I don't really understand that perception, because to me this doesn't look like Fortnite or play like Fortnite in any way, shape, or form. And on top of it, if you want to talk about a game that's pushing more and more into Fortnite territory, look at what Call of Duty is doing with their skins and tell me that's not reminiscent of Fortnite. Okay, so lay off for a second. Now, I'll be the first person to say that XDefiant has a lot of server issues. It has a lot of issues with just lag in general, and it's something that they're going to need to address and fix before this game goes live. It's something that greatly hindered my experience while I played, and it soured me a little bit while I was finishing up my final play session. I wanted to play all the way till 1 a.m. on Friday, but unfortunately I couldn't, because I just couldn't handle the server issues I was experiencing and got off around 10:30. And that is going to be a great hindrance when this game actually comes out, because if people are experiencing heavy issues with the servers, they're just simply not going to play. And that's my biggest concern right now when it comes to XDefiant, is that the server issue could really hinder players' experiences. So I hope they get it resolved, and I'm hoping that's part of the reason why they didn't extend it over the weekend, is they needed to figure out how to properly address the server problem, because this is their biggest issue. Outside of that, I felt the game was very balanced. It was pretty good. Yes, some guns are better than others, but that's going to happen in a first-person shooter. The movement was fluid. It felt nice. It felt pretty reminiscent of what you'd have in Call of Duty. It still feels weird that you can't go prone, because it feels like you should be able to go prone, but that's not the biggest deal. The map design, I can't stop praising the map design in this game. It's beautiful. A lot of the maps are unique. You're not going from one gray space to another gray space. You're going to vibrant areas, and I really like it. That arena map to me is still one of my favorites in the game. I love what they've done there. That is just the epitome of map design, in my opinion. And of course, we can address the fact that some abilities in this game are better than others. Some of the factions are going to be used more than others, but I tried every single one out. There were things I liked and didn't like about certain ones, but at the end of the day, I didn't find them to be massive problems within game-to-game gameplay. I didn't think it hindered the game. I didn't think it enhanced it that much either, but I think as players learn a little bit more, I think it's just going to be another layer of skill gap that can be added to this game. And I think skill gap in video games is a good thing, despite what some game companies believe, because skill gap is one of those things where it pushes players to learn and evolve and grow, and I think that's healthy within a first-person shooter, to have a skill gap. Actually, within any game, to have a skill gap. You know, I always go back to one of the games that I've fallen in love with over the last year, Dead by Daylight. The skill gap in that game is immense. Killer to killer, the skill gap is immense, and I really like that. And I think the games that promote a strong skill gap are successful in the long run. You know, I go back to Halo 3 all the time. That game had a massive skill gap. Just within movement alone, there was a skill gap, because there's certain jumps you could do if you knew how to properly approach them, right? So skill gap in general is good, and I would like to see that continue to expand throughout the life cycle of XDefiant, because yeah, I really like what we have here. The attention to detail that XDefiant used when it looks at, you know, creating a class, and you can pull up that stats page and you can look at everything that that gun has to offer with certain attachments, and I really, really like that. And honestly, a lot of the guns felt different as well. It didn't feel like I was using the same gun, whether it was the M4, the ACR, the M16, or even when I went to the MP7 or the P90. I felt that they all felt different, and they all had their own positives and negatives, and I really like that. I love the fact that when you have an SMG, you feel so much faster, so much lighter. It's incredible, and the movement is really nice, and I'm looking forward to learning and adapting as this game continues to grow, because it's going to be something interesting to watch. But I keep going back to this server issue, and I was talking to a couple friends this week, and their concern is that it's a Ubisoft game and that they might fumble the bag here. And this is my major concern, is if this server problem does not rectify, does not fix itself, this game could be dead in the water. And that's disappointing to say, because the bones, the foundation there is really, really strong. We just need them to come through on the server side. And again, it could push a lot of people away at launch if the servers are not working as optimally as they can, and it just will make this game not be as popular at launch. Like, I know I talked about it, that we can be lenient with this game at launch, that it doesn't need to be perfect at launch, but honestly, I'm starting to believe after this open session that the launch for this game is going to be crucial to its success, just because it is a brand new IP, just because it's going to have a lot of people trying it out in the first 5 days. It needs to nail it. And honestly, if that means they need to postpone it an extra couple weeks or even a couple months, I'd rather have that than them release a game that isn't stable at launch. Because we've seen bad launches in the past when it comes to the Battlefield franchise, even in the Call of Duty franchise at times. So they need to have that fixed and ready to go day one. That is the number one thing. You can have issues within the gameplay, I'm fine with that, but when it comes to server stability, that needs to be the main focus here moving forward. Now, obviously, you have other nitpicks and other things I would love to praise, but I'm going to save that for other videos. I'm going to save that for an opportunity to talk about this game more, because I don't want to stop talking about this game now. I don't. I want to continue to talk about it as we approach that release date, because we keep getting more tidbits of information from XDefiant's team, from Mark Rubin, who has been incredible with this community. He's been very transparent. He's always communicating with us. He's letting them know what they're looking at, kind of the differencing of feedback, and I really like that. As I've said from the beginning, I'm not expecting XDefiant to be this major success. I want it to be. I want it to be the Call of Duty killer, but I'm not saying it's going to happen. I want it to happen, because I want to believe that proper communication between developer and community is something that should help propel a game to success, and I want it to be the new standard moving forward in every single video game across this industry, because I think it's extremely important that the community feels that their feedback is heard, because so often it feels like it falls on deaf ears, and that nothing that we say matters, and it's going to be the game the developers want. But at the end of the day, once we get our hands on it, it becomes our game. It stops being the developer's game. So it'd be nice to see games evolve and grow as the community evolves and grows, and I'm hoping that that's what XDefiant becomes, and that's what I'm cheering for. That's what I want. And hey, if it forces games like Battlefield and Call of Duty and Apex to change along with it, I'm all for it. And that doesn't mean necessarily that it's a bad thing. I want XDefiant to set the standard now moving forward on how a community can impact and influence the game. Because what I've seen so far is a community that's willing to accept some faults from the game, but also provide feedback in a constructive way for the developers to properly process it and then apply it to the game. This is important moving forward. So overall, my experience on XDefiant was very positive for the most part, especially when I take away the server stability problem. I think I can let the server stability slide, because again, it was a beta, it was an open session, it wasn't the complete product, so I'm okay with it, and I can live with the fact that it wasn't the perfected experience that I was expecting, but it needs to be their number one priority moving forward. I'm very curious to know what you guys thought of the XDefiant free session, or open session, pardon me. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, what would you like to see change? What would you like to see evolve? Would you like to see them implement anything special into the game to make it a little bit more reminiscent of other games? Or do you want to see them differentiate themselves a little bit further let me know with a comment down below. And as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. I'd love to hit it before the beginning of July. So if you're new here, please subscribe. It'd be awesome to hit 2K. And maybe we'll do something a little special once we hit 2K. Who knows? But as always, guys, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.